Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. As you can tell, I am a champion, not on this loser Saturday. We trolling big time today, my friends, and I'm doing my co-host with the most, number 2-4. It's your OGs out here, baby. So let's get right into it. Cortez Branch Jr. We're gonna start off.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and start off with wrestling because obviously there was a pretty action-packed week across the board for both Raw and SmackDown. Obviously, Raw Elimination Chamber. We'll start off actually with the main kind of storyline from Raw. Jey Uso picking Gunther, right, to be his WrestleMania opponent for WrestleMania 41, and then essentially from there transitioning on, to obviously the tag team division, Finn Balor, and the Judgment Day having friction. So there's a lot of things to call out there. But what was your takeaways from Raw, and kind of what are you looking forward to, obviously, for the Jey Uso Gunther dynamic, leading into obviously Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania?
Well, I mean, it Jey Uso's gonna beat Gunther. That's
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
that's like a foregone conclusion.
Right.
And not saying that we don't want to watch the story play out over the next couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
but if Jey Uso doesn't beat Gunther, the WWE is gonna have a problem.
Exactly.
It's kind of like when Cody didn't beat Roman the first time. Except there's the stakes aren't as high to carry a story. Because if you remember, the first couple of weeks after Cody lost the first time to Roman, um, like those were like make or break weeks. And I'm not saying that Jey Uso doesn't have the star power that Cody does. That we're not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is the WWE is not going to fall for another year-long story that involves any member of the bloodline that doesn't pay off this week. Not this weekend, but WrestleMania season. They're not gonna deal with that again. So unfortunately, they're kind of all saddled together. The only way that a Jey Uso losing the Gunther storyline will work is if there was a hidden element involved. And if I'm not mistaken, the Money in the Bank is the only way that they would accept Jey Uso not walking out of WrestleMania as champion.
100%. And actually, while we do that, my own image is sickening me. So sorry, folks. Let me go and correct this real quick.
I don't blame you one bit.
Okay. All right. There we go. Yes. 100% agree. I think kind of, first thing, because your first point's incredibly massive, right? You don't put Jay against the guy who he just faced right before the
No.
Rumble unless you're going to have some payoff for him to kind of, get over at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm going to say is, to your point, the only way you can justify to the fan base, um, you know, only way you can justify Gunther going over on Jay is if Jay is going to win immediately after that. But then again, I don't think you build up Jay, who's a top selling merchandise seller for the past almost like what since June, right? So like over the past almost a year now, year and a half, or almost a year, right? Like it's 9 months. You don't set him up in this position if you don't have confidence in him, basically main eventing WrestleMania night 1 or night 2, and obviously putting the belt on him. It's basically similar to the Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement. It's similar to, obviously so many countless stories, like you said about Cody and Roman, the magnitude of Cody and Roman, because obviously Cody, the reason why the Cody has had the belt for over a year is because of the fact that Roman, had an all-time historic reign, the fourth longest world championship reign in WWE history. So, with that said, right, this is basically now, a position, Jay is now in the position, and I mean, kudos to him. I mean, to get him to work himself into this position and reinvent himself as becoming as main event Jey Uso as a result of kind of what we just talked about, the bloodline, with Roman, because basically Roman was able to elevate him to main event Jey Uso, and then Jay took the ball and ran with it. So I mean, kudos to him, and I'm looking forward to this program between Jey Uso. I think my takeaways are basically kind of what we're going to see over the next couple of weeks, and obviously months, or I guess month and a half, 2 months, whatever, before WrestleMania, is that Gunther every week in week out is going to basically, like you said, he's going to make Jay's life living hell, but he's also going to basically degrade him. Similar to kind of, I want to say like Cena JBL, if you remember that, 20 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
where JBL said, like, Cena, you're trash, you're this, you're that, your mom's on her back, pulling out all the different stops to basically, you know, you know, bury Cena's character, but really, build up the goodwill in the fans because, obviously the fans knew Cena was going to go over. It's the same thing with Jay and Gunther. Gunther's going to do everything, like,
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's the same thing. And I don't know. There's so much going on right now. Like, okay, so I'm gonna tell you straight up. I'm not sold on the idea of a triple threat for either main event.
I mean, I can't
I
see that
don't.
happening unless it's. I would say the only way I could you could sell me on that would be if it's, and this is the only way, is if it's Cena, Punk, and Cody, and that's like because
Yeah, I don't want
Cena,
Punk anywhere near Jey Uso.
right? I mean, Cena, Punk, and Cody are basically the three guys who are like really. I mean, Cena and Punk are the only two guys who can basically that belt right there, folks, right? Which Cody has had. That's also signed by Cody, by the way. That basically Cody's had that belt. It's gonna be a year now, right? Well, once we get to WrestleMania. So yeah, it needs to be those three, the kind of the megastars, the CM Punk.
Yeah, like I would understand Roman. I mean, I can understand Cena and Punk being in the main event against Cody. I don't think that Roman or Seth need to be in that match.
Well, and to that point, and that's a perfect segue because I'm not sure if we talked about this, but we'll talk about it now. I think the Roman and Seth and CM Punk kind of at the Royal Rumble, basically how that match kind of finished with their eliminations. That's a prelude to WrestleMania. I think it's gonna. I mean, we've had this build. Roman last year lost the title because he decided to take his revenge on Seth for the Shield, right? Kind of
Right,
betrayal
right.
instead of keeping his eye on the ball, like Paul Heyman kept saying, right? And essentially now you saw what happened at the Royal Rumble with basically Logan Paul eliminating, or I guess was it CM Punk who eliminated Seth and
No,
Roman,
it was CM Punk eliminated Seth and Roman, but
and
Logan
then
Paul
Logan
eliminated
Paul
CM
eliminated
Punk.
CM Punk, and then basically then Seth curb stomps Roman's face into the steel steps. This is, I mean, we're talking about 12 to 13 years between these two guys. I mean, and they're both megastars, and rightfully so. So, I mean, Tribal Chief, the Visionary, the Revolutionary. I mean, there's too many things that you have in that match. Them as a standalone match would basically be on levels of Rock and Hogan. Or I mean, maybe
Yeah,
maybe not Rock and Hogan, but at least like
it would be it would be a modern version of like the Mega Powers going at it.
right, like Savage and Hogan, or like
Yeah,
Michaels and Triple H.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'd be a Michaels Brett, Savage Hogan. It'd be Ultimate Warrior Hogan, Ultimate Warrior Savage. It's one of those milestone matches. You know
Exactly.
what I mean? Rock Austin,
Yeah,
like it's an era match.
exactly.
It's a matchup. These are the best guys in the era,
Period.
and
End of story. Yeah.
and that's all it is. It's not saying that the over like because eras overlap.
Right.
So people don't understand the eras overlapped and say, oh well, Cena was there when Michaels was there. Dude, you're not understanding what I'm saying. For 2, 3, 4 years straight, these were the best two guys in the business.
Hmm.
And then there might have been another best two guys in the business that started popping up in year four. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
example, Austin popping up and having classic matches with Brett. That's how Austin got to have the match with Michaels. Notice the Undertaker wasn't there, Brett wasn't there. It wasn't Triple H, it wasn't Rock. They were all in the company. It was Austin, Michaels, and that closed out that part of the era. So much so that that was the last time the belt was exchanged.
Exactly. Exactly. And kind of to that point, what you just said. When we say, and because your point about Awesome Rock, because that just jolted my memory. If you remember WrestleMania 19, following up the 2 years after the greatest WrestleMania event of all time, WrestleMania 17, and WrestleMania 19 was the first WrestleMania underneath the WWE flagship, logo,
Yep.
and WrestleMania 19 is considered by many as the second greatest WrestleMania of all time. I think it's up there with 17. It's neck and neck. Obviously, 17 has everything for something for everybody, but 19 is right there. It's literally right there. What I was gonna say was Austin and Rock didn't need a belt because of who they
No,
were.
it didn't. Yeah, it did not.
So that's exactly what you're saying. That's what I'm saying too. That I'm, Roman and Seth for who they are and who they've been to for this era, they don't need a belt. Period. I mean, they can
Well,
have.
one of the things that we don't have in this era anymore,
Mhm.
and I remember growing up, and there was so many non-title matches with the champion.
Right.
And a lot of times you became the number one contender by beating the champion. I think that one of the major problems that modern wrestling has today is that it's almost like the champion can never lose.
That's the issue, and let's talk about that because I was reading this thread, on Reddit and X, but from wrestling fans where it's like, like oh, like Now it's almost a foregone conclusion the belt won't change hands unless it's a major premium live event, which is actually the case. I mean, if you look at it, I
What,
mean,
5 years straight?
yeah, 5 years straight. I mean, we haven't had
The
the
only time that we've had a belt exchange and it wasn't a PLE was the Miz versus Bobby Lashley on Monday Night Raw.
right, and that was basically Bobby Lashley. That's
Yeah,
funny.
he was using the Miz to make his title reign. Well, the Miz used him to get the title,
Right, and then
and
Bobby
then
Lashley then beat him the next night.
yeah, because that was
Miz,
the call.
Miz had the buff like a day, and then Bobby Lashley, I mean, finally got his due, and then Big E ended up having his historic cash in,
Yeah, Big E
on
got his
Lashley.
cash in
That was
on
incredible.
Lashley. And that was great. And that made sense. And I think that was the last time we got the world championship on either side lost in on a Monday or a Friday.
And that's kind of bad because I kind of, we're missing that, like, to your pure point, we're missing that element. I think we need to kind of get back to just having, like,
Well, that's why Raw and SmackDown did so well, is because you might be witnessing history when you show up to a show.
well, perfect. I mean, and perfect example of like when Monday Night Raw was the heat of it, right? On January '99, like I guess during the Super Bowl halftime, or maybe it wasn't. I forgot which one it was, but it was during that era. WCW, because during that time, they on Nitro, they were spoiling the outcomes, of Monday Night Raw, and then basically they said, oh, like, hey, so this is where they really fucked up. I mean,
This is how they lost the Monday
this
Night
is how they
War.
lost up. January 1999, Mankind gets over, and he finally becomes world champion,
Yeah,
WWE champion, right, over the Rock.
that was the day that they lost the Monday Night War.
Terry Schiavone, Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, they're like, "Yay, folks! Don't switch your television set to over there. Mankind's gonna win tonight, so you don't need to worry about it." And then Jim Cornette said it perfectly. When the moment after they said that, all the wrestling fans' ears perked up. They said, "Really?" And then they they jolted they bolt out the door to Raw to watch the title change. And that's when, I mean, that's really where WWF. I mean, it was obviously going on for a year prior. Was Austin got the belt on him in WrestleMania in '98, but really
Yeah,
that was the kind of the nail in that coffin, because then obviously you had the finger poke of doom coinciding with that. And I mean, I'm not gonna get so much into history because obviously that was a childhood, but I just want to say, you know, to your point, you need to have that element of surprise,
excuse
of
me.
variability, of, like some, like you said, you keep saying this, and it's so true. The suspending our disbelief, right?
Yes, yes.
Bobby Lashley beating Miz after a PLE for the world title, and then 6 months later, Bobby Lashley losing to Big E, also on Raw, for a Money in the Bank cash in.
I got to see Bobby Lashley as champion at Raw, and and that's when Goldberg came back.
Yeah, Goldberg and Lashley had the program. I
I
remember.
was at that Monday Night Raw in
Oh, okay,
Chicago,
okay,
and when Goldberg surprised us in the crowd,
yeah,
and I'm gonna tell you, everybody chanted Goldberg when he walked out because that's
yeah.
the customary thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I want to let everybody know this because this has become an issue on the internet. The guys on the internet must not ever buy tickets to shows, and they must only watch on television. They have no idea how loud the arena was for everything that happened that night. There was only a couple segments that night where it wasn't like this was only a Monday Night Raw. There's only a couple segments of the night where everyone wasn't screaming their lungs off. That is the crowd. That is what happens in the crowd. When Charlotte came out and her fireworks went off, everyone went nuts. So the New Day had two matches that night. Only one of them was televised, but everybody went nuts. They had a tag team match with Bobby Lashley. And I'm telling you, everything was crazy that night. And I just don't think that the they're piping in the crowd noise. No, they are not.
Exactly.
There might be a situation where they might have had to do it once or twice, but
Mm-hmm.
let me explain this to you. The entire show was lit for
Right.
5.5 hours. It was lit, and you've gone to live shows as well.
Exactly. So I was gonna just say this to your point about the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, bro. They are so out of touch with what's on TV, and like I 100% concur because some of the shit I see and I read. One thing, like a perfect example. Everyone's saying Jay Uso is cringe. Why is Jay Uso
Jey
cringe?
Uso was the standard. The Usos as a tag team was the tag team standard for a decade.
Right, but they're saying Jey Uso as a singles competitor with the Yi is cringe.
It's not. It's just because it's over.
Right. So
Like, okay, what's the difference between Yeet and Yes?
my, to your point, which is my conclusion too. I don't think these guys are going to the games or going to the actual shows.
They're
I think,
not because
yeah.
everyone in the crowd is
I mean,
everybody's Yeeting.
yeah. I mean, because then when people actually go to the event, comment and reply to some of these outlandish takes, right? They're like, yeah, I went with my son, I went with my daughter who's like 4 or 5 years old, and they had the best time in the world, and it's so much fun. Like even if you don't want to do it because you think it's cringe or it's corny, whatever, like it is the best experience for a fan to kind of
Let
be
me
all
explain
engaged.
something
Yeah,
to non-wrestling fans
yeah,
or casual wrestling fans.
right,
Wrestling is cringe. It's supposed to be, but
exactly.
it is a larger than life experience that you get to go to. It is every characteristic about each personality turned up 1,000 times, except Vince. That was Vince.
Right.
It's everybody else is turned up times 1,000. It's the only place that you can go and be 100% outlandish and have nothing happen to you about it. As long as you take care of the other performers, take care of yourself, and don't touch the fans unless it's previously stated of what's going to happen here. I just don't understand how the casual fans don't get it. Like if I'm there, I go to these events, you go to
Yeah,
these events.
exactly.
You know, if for example, I know this is a sore subject for many people right now, but I'm kind of happy about it because, like I said, I liked the Atlanta Braves. And I did like the Atlanta Braves. I'm a Cubs fan, but I liked the Atlanta Braves because how could you not? In the
Exactly.
'90s,
Yeah.
and I liked watching the Cleveland Indians movies, and I liked watching all of that. All the movies that they all had with uh Major League. And so, even though I was not a part of those fan bases, those movies and that media, because that's how things were back in the day. That media is what was shared. The Tomahawk Chop became one of our things. Like you hear that and you just ready to go.
Exactly.
Oh, it's the same thing with wrestling. When Daniel Bryan was doing his thing, yes, was everywhere, even in NFL stadiums.
Well, and I
When
mean, yeah, go ahead.
and so now you have another character who has you doing something. For example, the DX thing, right? That got banned at so many high schools, middle schools, elementary schools. You got people got expelled, detention for just doing a simple crotch chop. You
I
know what I'm
feel like
saying?
I feel like what it is. I think what it is really. I think kind of to what you just said, that parallel, right? Obviously, people miss the attitude era, the edginess, the raunchiness, the kind of the reality TV, crash TV kind of element, and they see this new kind of era, which is kind of getting back there. Not yet. It's not quite there yet, right? Because you don't have the same level of like chaos and like just straight up,
Oh yeah, the chaos isn't there.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of what it is. I think the IWC is still kind of holding on to for dear life to that to those old memories of like those glory years, and because of that, they just not satisfied. And honestly, I mean, really, what I think it is, honestly, bro, is just I think it's really the IWC is just contrarian for just
They are.
just just for the sake of being contrarian. There's no
They
actual
are.
reason behind it. Like if you go
They
to an
are.
event. Like I went to an event, like you said, I went to SmackDown when they came here, not this past year, but the year prior when Cena came. And when Cena came, I mean, everyone's doing the Cena chants. Everyone, is doing the trumpets. Everyone's, I mean, it's a big thing.
Everyone does
Seth,
Kurt Angle. Everybody
yeah,
like they're blessing.
yeah,
They are
Seth and
blessing
Gun,
American made with Kurt Angle's taunts.
exact, yeah, and Seth. I mean, Seth and Gunther had, I mean, basically after the cameras went off and then it was a dark match. Seth and Gunther have that match. Obviously, the second most viewed video on this YouTube channel. So if everyone wants to watch it, you can watch that. Seth and Gunther, right, on SmackDown. Basically, Seth, obviously, when he comes out, right, I mean, everyone goes with
And,
it.
and and everyone knows they probably ended up doing that 3 times that night.
You have to.
Because you
You
got to
have
think
to.
the first time he comes out for a promo, the second time he comes out for the televised match,
Yeah.
and then he has the dark match after television's over.
Right.
So you're doing that 3 times because he's getting 3 entrances.
Exactly.
So if you're in the crowd and you hear Jey Uso's getting ready to do his promo and everybody's yelling, one more time, one more time, one more. And then Triple H pushes the button in gorilla position. This is not forced. We like Jey Uso. We like Jimmy Uso. We like Roman Reigns. We like Tama Tonga. We like Tongaloa. We like Bronson Reed. We like Jacob Fatu. We even like Solo. But we're wrestling fans, and we know who to boo when it's time to boo. Everyone likes Dominic Mysterio, but no one likes Dominic Mysterio. It's part of the game.
Perfect example. Sorry. That you said about people questioning the authenticity of the crowd reaction, saying, oh, they're pumping crowd noises. When Dom came out, bro, that same show I went to, SmackDown, that arena was deafening. And it was,
I texted you
yeah,
during the
it
match.
was insane. That
I
heat,
texted you and I
that
asked
level,
you, I said, hey, is it as loud there as it is on television? And you
yeah,
said louder.
yeah, it was incredible. It's incredible. I mean, WWE, I mean, since Triple H has taken the helm, it's great. I love it. And anyways, kind of back to the point. What we just talked about. Yeah, I'm excited for Jay and Gunther to get to WrestleMania. It's great. The
Let me
fans.
ask you a couple questions though, since we're moving through this.
Yes, go ahead.
It's very obvious that Jimmy Uso is going to have a match card with Drew McIntyre, and I only wish that people understood that this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If you watched SmackDown last
Oh,
night,
let's talk about it. Okay, let's okay. Raw's done. Let's get to SmackDown. All right, SmackDown. All right, everybody, if you guys watched it, show opens up. Did Cody come out? Was that what came out? It was Cody, right?
Cody came out. Yeah,
Cody came out, and then obviously Drew McIntyre interrupts Cody. Because Cody listening to all the opponents for Elimination Chamber, and he's like, I'm gonna respect all these guys, whoever deserves it, because Jay obviously challenged Gunther, so Cody acknowledged that, and he says, I'm excited for whoever comes out in the chamber. Then Drew comes out, he's like, maybe or Drew, he's like, that's all I get, or Drew, right? Sorry, Fatu comes out, Jacob Fatu comes out, and he interrupts both of them. And then obviously, then Solo kind of interrupts that, and he comes in the Titantron in the backstage. And then obviously, Cody wanted to go back and say to him, but Jacob actually stopped him. Jacob had like almost like a face moment right there, and Jacob said he's like, no, Cody, he's like, if anyone's talking to him, it's gonna be me first. He's gonna hold up Cody, like he made Cody Rhodes hold up, right?
yeah.
And
Cody was dope when he said, "You might be getting the first word, but
I'm
I'm
gonna get the
getting the
last.
last word."
And then obviously, then we had that backstage segment between. So yeah, let's talk about that. Jacob and Solo, and obviously Solo interrupted the main event, but we don't. We'll get into all that. But what's your kind of initial take on kind of just Jacob Fatu and like his evolution of his character since he's debuted since obviously last year and a half.
Well, I mean, I watched GCW and all of those little indie events. I
Yep.
watched them all because
Yep.
they're funny.
Yep.
They're funny, and they're better than AEW. All of those little indie events are better. Even the ones that are in like school gyms, they're better than AEW. And I think you guys should go and check them out. I might be checking out one next
Yeah.
month,
Yeah.
and here in Chicago.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, the Fatus, their family is great at wrestling. The NOIE family is great at entertaining fans at wrestling, and I think that you should give almost all of them a chance to be there, not just because there's one, two, three, or seven, eight. How many are we at now? Nine?
Shot, gosh.
Well, okay, we got Solo, you got Jacob, you got Tamla and Tonga.
Mm-hmm.
You
Jimmy,
have Jimmy,
Jay,
Jay, Roman, and Tamina, Naomi, because by marriage,
by marriage.
um,
Naya.
Nia Jax, and that's it right now for WWE.
Is Tamina, but Tamina isn't active, right? Tamina's been off.
She's still on the active roster for some
Huh.
reason.
Okay.
They were just talking about that yesterday on one of the podcasts that I watched. But she's still an active roster member.
She hasn't
But
been
we
on TV
also
for
have
a long time. I can't
over
remember last time I
a
saw her.
year.
Yeah.
I think after that, oh, and The Rock. That's 10 active
Well, I mean,
wrestlers.
Rock is, yeah. I mean, but he's more like an ownership kind of like authority figure.
Yeah,
He's
he's more of the final boss than like,
yeah. I mean, he's so established. I don't really count him as like I mean, he's not
yeah,
like an up and comer or like
he's not just
active
part of the
competitor.
family.
Exactly.
I So you have Hikuleu, Zilla. There's another one. I always forget his first name. There's another one that's
Coming up.
Joe. No, not Joe. Joe is Roman. There's another one. He fought Shane. He fought Shane already on WWE television.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's one more that's a little bit younger, but they're all really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, proof in the pudding, like we're talking about Jay, right? Jay is now main event. Roman has already been the main event. Jimmy is making his way up, and so yeah, so that's how SmackDown opened. Now let's talk about what you just kind of talked about, the backstage segment between Drew and Jimmy, and now obviously that
Well,
lead,
Drew came to antagonize Jimmy
yeah,
about Jay,
right,
and Jimmy's promo from the week beforehand was prime because it's the truth. Like they were both doing the same things. It
right,
isn't like Jay invented. They were like, first of all, the Usos are the ones that came up with "We the Ones."
exactly,
Roman adopted it.
right,
Roman wasn't doing it until he got together with them.
yeah,
Roman was still doing his big dog. He was still doing the
ah,
big, even
cringe,
into yeah,
ugh,
and even into the tribal chief, he was still doing the big dog celebration.
ugh,
When he came out, and
ugh,
he did it. He did it when even after he won the first title. You know
he
what I
did,
mean? He didn't start doing that until Jimmy and Jay really co-signed with him, and they became the bloodline.
right.
You know, and this was all. Once again, this was all after the Thunderdome era, which I looked back at some old Thunderdome era matches. Some of those matches are really good. And
They were
Thunderdome was like,
all really, really good. The problem is people
yeah,
can't deal with the fact that there isn't a live audience. I love
but
Thunder.
I felt like the live audience was represented with the Thunderdome,
I thought so too.
and
You
I
know?
really did feel like it. Like, mind you, it wasn't like it felt like kind of like how NXT feels, where like it's packed, but like it's smaller, but it gave the illusion of fan interaction, as well as, and you remember they were selling tickets to that for a while. Like
Yeah,
you were able to watch from your seat camera.
exactly.
And that was that had to be awesome. I wasn't one of the people that was chosen because there's a limited number of tickets that was sold every week, and they got to be very expensive after a while. But it was great. I didn't enjoy WrestleMania in there, but I didn't hate it either. I understood. And then when they did the redo the next year with the same theme, that was perfect. It was like I was glad they didn't change the theme because I felt like we got robbed of the Tampa Bay theme because the Tampa Bay theme was awesome. You got the
Yeah.
WWE sale and everything, and then everything about it was just great. The whole theme of it made sense. And once again, we're talking about Triple H creative here. That was a Triple H decision because I guarantee you Vince would have lobbied to change it. You know, and he probably did lobby to change it because he's still a part of the company at the time. But everybody voted him down, which at that point you have no choice. Your company's public. But let's go back to where we were at. So Drew already comes out, accosts Cody. Then Jacob comes out and does his thing, and then Drew's backstage, and Jimmy's chilling.
Yeah.
Jimmy knows he lost last week against Drew. Drew got lucky, even though Jimmy put on a banger of a match. And his promo, he stood there, he's like listening to Drew talk, and he's basically just like, "Are you done now? Like, well, I already told you, ye and no ye, they all live right here."
Well,
And for
but
what people don't understand, Jimmy's better on the mic than Jay is.
exactly.
Always was.
Yes. And what I was gonna say was, if you remember, though, there's one little detail you're missing out. Drew basically gave him advice saying, "Oh yeah, just my advice to you. You married up, like
Oh
Naomi.
yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah."
said
And
you
then
married up.
Jimmy then goes behind him and super kick.
Well,
And then
that's because Naomi's a multi-time world champion.
yeah. Well, and Naomi's with Bianca Belair, so obviously she's gonna be in the main event.
And she's in the elimination chamber this time too.
Exactly. So there's, but
That and
that's
the Jade story is developing on SmackDown, which finally,
yeah, but like that doesn't take away from Jimmy, right?
no, none of it takes away from Jimmy. If
And
anything,
let's
and
be
I
honest.
might be in the minority here,
Yeah,
Jimmy, Jimmy is in a prime position right now. Not only are you gonna buy your feature
yeah,
on WrestleMania, you're not main eventing. You don't need to.
right,
You main evented last year,
right.
but not only are you not gonna main event WrestleMania, you're going to be there in a capacity that makes sense. I think that if you toss Jimmy in that match and he beats Drew McIntyre, Jimmy's road is going to be a little bit longer than Jay's, but remember, Jimmy's had a lot more injury time than Jay has.
Yes,
You know,
but kind of to the point, I was gonna say, I think next week they're gonna have a Jimmy versus Drew match on SmackDown. So I don't know. I'm not sure if they're gonna do like a WrestleMania program for them. I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna. I don't know. It makes sense to have Jimmy versus Drew at WrestleMania. I'm with you. I just don't know if they're gonna make it like a WrestleMania wide program, depending because I mean there is some animosity between them, but it would make sense to me,
I
for
got three
yeah, go ahead.
candidates for this, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna move a little bit forward here,
yeah.
but I got three candidates, and it's only from what WWE television is telling me.
Mhm.
Shinsuke is gonna lose that title back to you at the LA Knight.
Yep.
Jimmy, I got Jimmy, Cena, or Punk winning Money in the Bank.
Wow.
And it all depends on who wins the Elimination Chamber. That makes my mind up on who wins Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
And
I mean, and to kind of to your point, sort of fast forwarding. I mean, I'm of the mindset, Cena should win Elimination Chamber. It's Cena's last run, and I'm of the mindset that Cena should beat Cody for the title at WrestleMania. It's
I
only.
think two I think two things should happen there. And they could go with either one of these guys.
Mhm.
If Cena wins the Elimination Chamber, he's going to WrestleMania versus Cody.
Yeah.
CM Punk then wins the Money in the Bank, but he wants to main event. He doesn't want to run out. He wants to main event. He says, "I'm doing what Ziggler did." No, it wasn't Ziggler that did it. Who was the one that it was? I'll tell you who did this. Damian Sandow.
Mhm.
Damian Sandow used his contract to get in the title match
Oh.
to make it a triple threat match.
Mhm.
Because remember, Damian Sandow is all about being the intellectual savior of the masses during that gimmick. He had the leather briefcase.
He was yeah, pretty good at that.
Underrated gimmick, by the way. His gimmick was flawless. Vince just didn't like him.
Yep.
You know, he never did it. Everything Damian Sandow did was gold. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch Damian Sandow clips, guys.
It was incredible. It was incredible.
um, Especially as Mizdow. That was underrated. Matter of fact, I think he might have been better than the Miz during that run.
Yeah.
And so I would say that one of them uses that Money in the Bank contract to get in the main event of WrestleMania. That's the perfect way that you can sell a triple threat without it being, why is this a triple threat?
Yeah.
You can have CM Punk go like his tweener version of CM Punk, where he goes super mad at everyone and he wins that Money in the Bank contract. He says, "I'm going to WrestleMania. I'm going to be in the main event. And sorry, Cody, but I'm getting in this match. I'm not cashing in on you. I'm turning in this contract to make this a triple threat."
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and I mean that's actually a very nicely thought out scenario.
It's clean, isn't it?
It's clean. Yeah, no, CM Punk, Cena, and Cody. I mean, I don't those are my three. I mean, I love Drew, but I can't put Drew in the title picture just yet.
No,
And back to the IWC. IWC is like Drew needs to have the title. Drew needs to get over. And I mean, I obviously respect Drew for kind of coming night in, night out, week in, week out, and like putting quality, quality. I mean, just obviously quality work on the mic, in the ring. Character is insane, right? Especially this last year's program, CM Punk. But um, I can't put Drew in the same match, which has Cena in his last run, and then obviously CM Punk, needing that payoff. I mean, it just makes sense to if it's going to be a triple threat, it needs to be those three guys. It needs to
I
be
think there should be two triple threats.
two.
Yeah,
Okay, talk to me.
because of what we saw a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I would do I would do the Cena, Punk, and Cody triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
No offense to Punk. No offense to Punk at all. But I think that that needs to be a triple threat match. Punk
Yeah,
and Cena are both older. They need to be able to work in a triple threat
yeah,
capacity.
yeah.
And that's not saying that they couldn't work one on one. I'm saying that it would be a better match.
It would be.
Um, and it would make sense that if you're facing CM Punk and John Cena, that's a good, clean way for Cody to lose.
Exactly. No, I mean, and like it's going to be a historic loss, which is great because it's a historic reign following another historic reign, a 4-year reign from
Exactly.
Roman, and then a 1-year long reign from Cody.
And
So
secondly, you want to make it to where this will start. And I think that this starts the shorter reigns this next season. I
uh-huh.
think next year we're going to have a lot shorter reigns on every title.
Well, I think so too because here's why. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. If you want to make your point,
No, I'll make it after yours.
yeah, I was gonna say really, the reason why I agree with you is because I think if Cena wins, which I think he will, and if Jay wins. Like Jay is so over. He's like what we're saying, right? Like what we just talked about with Roman and Seth, right? Some guys are so big they don't need the belt. But Jay's never had the belt. That's why he needs it to elevate him and to not only have his popularity needs that payoff, right? With him to have be the world title.
Jay needs a 4-month reign, and that's it.
Yeah, maybe even 2 or 3, honestly, right? Cena is Cena. He gets this belt that's 17 times. He doesn't even need to have it for like a week or two. He can have it for like a day.
I already told you that I
Yeah.
that I fully would support Cena vacating the title.
Yeah, Cena could literally come out the next night on Raw like how Edge did 10, 15 years ago when he had the neck injury after he went over on Alberto Del Rio, right? Same thing. Hey guys, I'm really sorry. Like, I have an injury. My body won't take it anymore. Thank you all for the last run. Obviously, hustle, loyalty, respect. All that kind of stuff, right?
Or even sell the injury, but say, okay, you're out for a month, you have to vacate,
Yeah,
but try to come back and win it again, but lose at the last event that he's at.
or come back and just do whatever because at this point it's seen his last run. So once you get
Yeah.
to 17, which is what he'll be once he wins at WrestleMania, that's it. He doesn't need to do
Or
anything.
or make him finally turn heel.
Yes, but the problem is I feel like he has so much creative power over his character right now. I don't know if
And
you're.
he might be one of those characters that never turns heel.
Yeah, he hasn't been heel since fucking 2004. It's just like 2003 actually. I'm like, fuck, dude. It's like Cena's always been
That
Super Cena.
man that man has been a face for 22 years.
It's insane.
The only person that was a face longer than him was Hulk Hogan.
And that you saw how that kind of phased out, pretty quickly. So,
It's happened to Cena, I think, twice already in his career where people are just tired of him.
but you know what the
You
problem
know?
was? No, I mean you're saying that, but the Cena got a shit ton of cheers when he came out at the Royal Rumble. I mean,
Well,
because
no, now, yeah, we love Cena now.
you're right. I'm so sorry. Yes, absolutely. When you're talking about, obviously the Cena sucks. Let's go Cena. Cena sucks. Kind of that dynamic, which has been going on, like you said, when he was forced as Super Cena. Obviously from 2006 onwards. So yeah, no, I mean, credit to Cena for carrying the WWE through some of its darkest times. But to your point, I do think that it would be great, to see him go heel. But then obviously, like then obviously the counterpoint is that okay, remember Austin at WrestleMania 17 when he turned heel, everyone was saying, yeah, like why did he do that? But Austin wanted that, but it
I
kind
mean,
of
it
backfired.
works. It
Yeah,
worked. It was the same when The Rock turned into corporate Rock.
yeah,
Because you got to think so The Rock was The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and even Michaels. I say it started with Michaels
yeah,
that they were the in between face heels.
yeah.
Like
Tweeners,
they
tweeners.
did they
Mm-hmm.
did everything as a heel, but they were still the face of the story.
It's tween. I mean,
Yeah,
they go between. They're tweeners, and they switch on a dime.
like that's
Face heel.
that's what Drew McIntyre is right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Drew McIntyre is a tweener. Like that's literally what he is. That's kind of what Roman is, and that's kind of what Seth is too.
yeah. And actually, now let's fast forward to okay. Well, yeah, we'll fast forward.
Well, I gotta finish that one part.
Go ahead, please.
The very next triple threat match that I have is not a main event.
Hmm?
It's probably the match before the main event or opening. I would open the card with this match:
Okay.
a triple threat between L.A. Knight as U.S. champion,
Yep.
Drew McIntyre, and Jimmy Uso.
Oh hell yeah! Sign me up. Sign me
I
up for
would
that.
take and now I would take the risk though. I would take the risk of having L.A. Knight win that title from Shinsuke in like 2 weeks from today,
That's what I'm saying. So
and
and
have him carry it to WrestleMania, and I would have Jimmy win as L.A.
exactly,
Knight and Drew McIntyre take each other out. I would have Jimmy win, but it's only going to be like a month-long U.S. title reign.
which is fine because
Yeah,
again, same thing with Jay because if Jay and Jimmy both go over and they both have very short title reigns, that's fine because they went over on the same night. WrestleMania 20 with Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero, right? Even
yes,
even though both of them had very multi-month, almost year-long reigns, through like middle or like end of 2004, they didn't need it because it was about that moment. That moment stands, withstands
right. You
the
give
test of time.
Jimmy, you give Jimmy 2 or 3 PLEs of just looking like a stud,
Yeah,
and you've created the future of your company. And what I mean by that is you have stars now.
yeah,
And I'm not saying the WWE doesn't have stars. I'm saying that John Cena is retiring.
Yep.
CM Punk's got maybe 2 years left.
Yeah, he's basically the same age as Cena.
Yeah, he's got maybe 2 years left. And the
Yeah.
only reason he has gas in the tank is because he was out for so long.
Yeah.
Same with Edge.
Yeah.
Same with Daniel Bryan. They were out for so long that they have gas in the tank. Same with Rock. They took such a long break that they have gas in the tank. Same with Michaels when he came back. And the second time he came back, it's because they had breaks. And now let me explain where you go from there. Now you have a mid card that's attractive. And I'm not saying that Shinsuke isn't an attractive mid card champion because he looks great right now, but Shinsuke has always been a better face than a heel.
Yeah.
He is an excellent heel, but the problem is everyone wants to cheer Shinsuke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They want to cheer Shinsuke Nakamura. There are people who will cheer Drew McIntyre even when he sucks. There are people who will cheer Jay when he sucks. There are people who cheer Jimmy when he sucks, and all the rest of the top of the card. Right now, what you're building is you're building your mid card because your mid card has always been the bread and butter of the WWE.
Yeah.
I will hazard a guess that the mid card matches were always better than the main event matches.
Right.
And to the point of where the mid card title gets elevated to where, hey, I got a title. It doesn't matter which one it is. I got one.
Right.
You remember when the Intercontinental title was so special?
Yeah.
It's only happened a couple of times in our lifetimes, but the Intercontinental title, and people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but The Miz made it special too. Cody Rhodes made the mid-card Intercontinental title special. Randy Savage made it special. Shawn Michaels made it special. Bret Hart made it special. Owen Hart made it special. The British Bulldogs made it special. There's only people like Hogan who tried to keep the importance of that title down, but then guys wanted to do and say, I want to go back to this. I want to go back to when you see the main event champion start challenging for that title again.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm the champion. I want to win the U.S. title too.
Well, and to that point, like example, Sheamus, I want Sheamus to win the IC belt title. Everyone wants it. Same Sheamus win the title because that's the only title he hasn't won yet in his career. And I don't know whether I guess I hope they're waiting to WrestleMania to let Sheamus have his moment. That's what I'm hoping they do because they had so many chances last year to let him get it, and he never got it. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's like WrestleMania can write itself. And I don't think that the people that we want to see need to be left out. I think there's a way to go about doing it while elevating the next level. And with the mid-card titles being the way that they are right now, those guys that we want to see, well, why didn't who's somebody that's up and coming? We're not talking about LA Knight. He's a main eventer.
Yeah.
Who's somebody that's up? Okay, why couldn't Carmelo win Money in the Bank? Well, he doesn't need to win Money in the Bank because he needs to win the U.S. title first.
Exactly, and he hasn't. So, I mean, he needs to become an established mid-carder, which he kind of is without the belt, but he needs the belt. So the same thing with Jimmy, right? Jimmy basically paid his dues. He got the IC belt. It was only a 1 week or 2 week reign, right?
Oh, a month.
Yeah, 1 month, right?
Yeah,
and
1 month.
Then he was able to drop it and win the Royal Rumble. The way I look at it, to your point, bro, it's like a graduation step. You get your mid-card title. You graduate to then obviously, compete for a main event.
It's your job as mid-card champion to make people want this title.
Right.
And if you can make people want this title, then that'll show that you can be the champion, the WWE champion.
Yeah.
I can't name one of those mid-card champions that we named earlier that didn't make other people want that title. The Miz was so good at making people want the Intercontinental Championship that Roman Reigns went after it.
Yeah. And the US.
Like people have got to remember that the title belt business is not just about, and I think WWE did this kind of towards the dog years is where the other titles became invaluable. Like WWE was best when they had championships that people wanted to see. And WWE was best when you had a champion versus champion match that actually made sense. Like I loved when we had the ECW champion. I loved when we had the WCW champion / the World Heavyweight champion. And I loved when we had the WWE champion. And everyone was able to say which one of them is better because Rob Van Dam definitely could beat Cena.
Yeah.
Well, Cena can beat Booker. Booker can beat Chris Benoit, and then Jericho comes along and says, well, "I'll beat you all."
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree with you, and it kind of fosters an environment for everyone to get a shot and everyone to shine. So I agree with you on that. And actually, now let's talk about we're going to pivot a bit. We're not really pivot, but we're just going to talk about the next kind of thing, which is the main very very noteworthy event from SmackDown: Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax. Obviously Tiffany became the world champion, sister to kick off the new year and by cashing her money in bank on Nia Jax, against her in her match against Naomi, and then basically then Tiffany, in the match between Nia and Tiffany, it was a pretty back and forth struggle. Essentially, it ended up Tiffany was about to get the upper hand. And I loved a lot of the spots, like Tiffany doing the moonsault off the turnbuckle onto Nia on the fucking concrete floor. I mean, that was a Tiffany Stratton is such a great performer. I mean, it's incredible.
I
And
mean, she's a world-class athlete.
world class athlete, world class gymnast, right?
Yeah.
And so basically then Candice LeRae interferes. Their matches end in DQ, and then Nia trying to gonna try to obliterate Tiffany. And then Trish comes in to interfere on Tiffany's behalf, and then basically, Trish is able to, you
I
know,
didn't like that spot.
yeah. I mean, it didn't really. I mean, and
I'll tell you why I didn't like that spot.
yeah,
If I have a lackey and I think I'm better than the person that I'm facing, even if they're going to hit a move on me, you didn't even give me a chance to kick out. You just
right.
attacked, which means that I just lost my title shot.
Right. Well, no. But this is after the match already ended in DQ. That's when Trish came to interview.
Yeah, I would have been mad about the DQ. Trish came in afterwards. She did.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you're right. I didn't understand why Nia, why she wasn't mad at Candice. Like, I mean, the moment, like, right after the bell rings, Nia turns around, she's pointing, she's like smiling at Candice attacking Tiffany, and I'm like, wait, you just lost your championship opportunity. Why are
right,
you so
you just
happy?
lost your championship match.
Yeah, I
Like
didn't.
that was the one negative from that.
It didn't make
That
sense.
and
Yeah.
it but what came later, like not even 10 seconds later, but what came later made me almost forget that this happened. And that was Trish Stratus helping Tiffany Stratton, and then Tiffany Stratton turning face permanently, not permanently, but permanently for this reign backstage with Trish, and
Yeah,
Trish
yeah,
promising to be at the Elimination Chamber. Here's the linchpin, though.
yeah.
We don't know if Trish is competing in the Elimination Chamber or if she's just going to be there.
No, she's going to be a tag team with Tiffany, but I mean, and so that's going to be so you're right. It set up that and effectively kind of squashed the whole Nia Tiffany thing because then you remember what happened after that. The Queen comes out and then she says, "Hey, Tiffy, can you hear me?" She's like, "The Queen chooses you," and then she walks back.
Well, that's what it is. Like
Yeah,
Nia's not getting that championship back, and now they're going to start going for the tag titles.
yeah, and it's kind of interesting because like Charlotte takes like what you mentioned about like superstars being fresh because they take so many breaks. Like, has anyone done like a check on Charlotte Flair, like how many breaks she's taken and like how long
Uh,
she's been away? And
she's taking the most.
and then she comes back and is instantly awarded the Royal Rumble and is instantly put in the main event of WrestleMania. It's a really bad trend, honestly, with Charlotte.
I mean that's the basis of this character.
Mhm.
So the basis of this Charlotte character is I am the queen of WWE,
Yeah,
and
well, I mean, she's
I
been
will do what I want. You know,
exactly.
that's her basis. Is like that's what all the vignettes were about. It's like I have all the money, I have all the status. She's basically turning up. She's the nature girl right now.
She is a nature girl, the figure eight, obviously, she's like, she's Charlotte, she's Rick. I mean, she has pedigree, right? But I don't know.
Like she's, I guarantee you, the more that we continue with this, and originally she wasn't going to go heel, but what she never understood, and I think that she's been fighting this her entire career. What she never understood about her dad is he was always a heel. The thing is, he was your heel sometimes. You know where she's at right now is she's the antithesis of what she needs. She tried to come out as the when she first came back. No, we need you as Charlotte, the privileged brat of Ric Flair. That's what we need you as. We
Yeah,
need you as you are the princess, you are the queen now, and you know you're here to take your father's mantle up, and you need to be styling and profiling. Because if you remember, this needs to be a similar. I would just do a remix of the past. Dusty versus, and this is exactly what this is. This is Dusty versus Ric Flair.
right. I mean, it's perfect. It would be the perfect kind of segue. But yeah,
Right, because you got to think Tiffany's bougie as hell.
Yeah.
Charlotte is Charlotte. She's Ric Flair's daughter. And Dusty got super bougie during that Ric Flair. Remember, look at this coat. You know what this is? This ain't you know what this is? You know, the Dusty promo. And he's got this coat on. This is a mean coat. You know what I'm saying?
That's too funny.
And then Dusty is the champion.
Yeah.
When Dusty's holding the championship that Ric Flair is known to behold. You know what I mean? And he's just like, I don't know what that man's talking about. I got the championship. You know, I got all the money. You know, I'm the one that's the famous one. Look how beautiful I am. You know, I don't care what that dude is talking about. He's a has-been. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Dusty played that perfectly, and Dusty was the face. Ric Flair was not. You know what I mean? And that's all they need to do to make this work is look to the past because I'm sorry, Charlotte, you're a remix character. I know that makes you upset. Yes, you're an original, but you're also a remix of your dad, which you should be. You should be. Ric Flair had a perfect wrestling character that he cultivated. Yes, he got it from Buddy Rogers, but he did what Buddy Rogers couldn't do with the character.
Yeah.
You know, his charisma was unmatched. Charlotte, she's supposed to have a little bit less charisma than her dad because she's been privileged. Whereas her dad was, I came from nobody and I got everything, so I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm never going back to being nobody again. That's what, and Charlotte gets to say, well, I was always somebody because he was always somebody. Woo this and woo that. That's what she needs to do, and I think that that this can work. Just keep Nia away from what's going on because she's too good right now, and that's the truth. She didn't lose clean, which is good. She didn't get pinned. She didn't submit. You know what I'm saying? She didn't lose clean. That's good. That means you protected Nia, which is probably why she agreed to do the spot. But also, Candice, you're gonna get beat bad. And I can start seeing Nia bully Candice a little bit if she needs to, because at the end of the day, she did cost her a title.
Yeah, it's basically going to be Tiffany part two, you know. But anyways, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what happens with the Elimination Chamber. But now let's get to the main event of SmackDown, which was Damian Priest versus Braun Strowman versus Fatu. What you mentioned about Tiffany and what you mentioned about like fans, basically turning not against someone but for them. Jacob Fatu is literally in that kind of mode right now where he's supposed to be a heel, but the fans are like saying Fatu, Fatu, Fatu. Like
Because he's good. Because he's good.
he's
It's the same
fucking
thing that
good.
happened to remember when Rikishi was supposed to be heel, but everybody was cheering for him because of how good he was?
Fatu is much better than Rikishi, bro. Let's be honest.
Oh, dude,
Rikishi, you're
he's
my
top
dog. If you're watching this somehow, I have your
he's top
autograph.
four. Fatu is top four in their entire family. Okay,
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. So, like, Bruce, obviously Bruce
yeah,
Alpepe, Toa Leona, who's on AW, shout out to Bruce. When he was on the show for almost 5 years ago, he basically said, look out for Jacob Fatu. And lo and behold,
you
materialized.
know who else said it? Booker T said it too.
Yeah, Booker T, of course. I mean, well,
And
Booker T's Booker T. I mean, Booker T
yeah,
had those
and
ever.
Booker T is saying, Booker T was just wrestling Zilla a couple of weeks ago and kicked him out the company.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if we saw Zilla in the next couple of weeks. Just saying, he's a free agent.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. So obviously Damian Priest, Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu kicks off. Priest, Braun, and Fatu be really good match. Obviously, I think Braun was about to win, and then Solo comes in and hits him with a spike because obviously Jacob got the steel chair and he was trying to recreate Saturday Night Main Event where he basically did like the butt slam thing whatever to Braun on the turnbuckle and basically hurt his trachea and essentially then Braun.
Dude, Braun sucks so bad.
Hmm.
I have like Braun Strowman needs either character development or acting classes or something because I'm sorry, the big giant guy that yells and stumbles over his words is just not doing it for me.
Right. But I just want to focus on the match because so obviously then Solo comes in, he does a spike, and it looks like Jacob's gonna win, and then Cody comes in and then he attacks Solo, and then yeah, and basically then from there they kind of go at it, and then Tama Tonga tries to assist on Jacob's behalf to help Solo and Jacob, but then Cody ducks and then Solo, the spot is Solo, then hits Tama with the spike, and then Jacob sees that. Jacob goes out, he shoves Solo, and then he says, "What the hell are you doing? I thought you said you love me backstage." When I asked where the fuck you been for the past, 6 to 3 months, whatever it was, through however, right? And then essentially, Damian Priest is able to come out and then, basically, lay waste to Jacob and then lay waste to Solo and lay waste to Braun, and Damian Priest punches a ticket home to the Elimination Chamber. The show ends with Cody and Damian Priest shaking hands, look at the WrestleMania sign. So what I love about the match is Damian Priest is so over. I mean, Priest is like the guy.
Oh,
My God.
Priest has been over since his match with Bad Bunny, since
Yeah.
before his match with Bad Bunny, since him and Bad Bunny tag teamed.
Yeah, even before
Like,
that, honestly, I think Priest has been over
yeah,
since he came in. Because when he came in from
yeah.
NXT, even when he was in NXT, he's just been so good.
He
And
was the Archer of Infamy.
I love it, man. Yeah, and Archer of Infamy, man. And anyways, yeah, I mean, his Priest is incredible, incredible performer. I'm so happy.
He's a great performer. We needed another big man that was like ethereal.
Exactly.
I think I just think keep him from smiling too much.
He doesn't smile that much though.
Yeah,
He's really good at I like the scowl, kind of guy.
yeah. Keep him like the Undertaker. I think
He,
he's got a Taker vibe. Keep him like the Undertaker.
he was about to do the old school. If you remember, there's a spot where
Yeah, I
he
saw it. It was
walked
nice.
he walked the top rope. He's about to do old school on Jacob. But yeah,
His matches are getting better because he's adding better moves that fit him more. Like the Crossroads didn't really fit him that much.
right.
I'm glad that he didn't do that. I would love to see Cody pull out Dustin's finisher in one of his matches because Dustin's finisher is so over. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? MJF screwed it up real bad last week, but Dustin's finisher is so over. Dustin's his pile not pile driver his what do you his little DDT into his little
Yeah, yeah.
tw- the what is it called, end of the road or something like that. I don't know, something like that. But that Dustin's finisher is super over. And man, can we just get Dustin back?
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. But let me get your take now, because now there's one spot left for the Elimination Chamber, right? Obviously, you got Drew back, and you got Drew, you got Priest, Cena, Punk. Who's the other guy? Who am I missing? It's not
Not
Seth.
LA Knight, not Andrade, not Seth.
Let me look it up. Let me look it up. I was reading it today, and I just forgot. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to blank.
Jacob.
No, it's not Jacob, because Jacob lost that match. That was the spot.
Yeah.
Um, Logan, Logan,
Logan Paul. Yeah, Logan Paul.
Logan Paul, and then there's one more. So who gets the last spot?
Um, man, it's gonna be can't be anybody that's in the U.S. title scene. That didn't make any sense. Shoot,
I'll make it easy for you.
Either Penta or Chad Gable.
Yeah, it could be Penta or Chad Gable, or it's going to be kind of the unfortunate, predictable main event guys, Roman or Seth. Let's tell. Why
I don't I don't see Roman wanting to be in the Elimination Chamber.
not?
I feel like a guy like Roman would think that the Elimination Chamber was beneath him.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, and I think Roman and Seth are basically going to go at it. You know.
Because like the Elimination Chamber is supposed to be like if you remember, do you remember the one where Michaels won the title in it?
Yep.
The Elimination Chamber is supposed to be a desperate move.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a desperate move, and we kind of got away from that. But I think that Papa H is bringing it back. Is the Elimination Chamber seems very desperate this year, and I think that Roman's just not a desperate character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
I feel like that part of his character is over. Like the desperation part of him is not a part of his character anymore. And I think that he would just feel like this is beneath me. I'm not desperate for a championship. I can ask for it and get it. You know what I mean? Like Cena's desperate because Cena hasn't had the opportunity to be a champion in a long time. He needs to break that record. I think CM Punk wants to be, and he's desperate for, and they keep mentioning it. He's desperate for a WrestleMania main event. And I think the other guys that are in it were desperate to even get in the match. Logan Paul's desperate to prove himself to WWE, which is great because we needed to know that you cared. Because
Yeah.
the way I look at it is Logan Paul is like this generation's Miz.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, I think Miz was a little more committed. Um,
Yeah, he didn't have as much going on. Like Miz quit
well, no, I
acting.
mean Miz shows up week in, week out.
Yeah,
Logan
He
Paul,
quit acting for this.
like Logan Paul is.
You remember Miz was in movies and TV shows before the WWE, and he wanted to be a wrestler the entire time. He said, "Well, I'm just going to be a wrestler."
I know. So my point is, what is? I mean, Logan Paul, for all of his natural athletic talent, his ability to work in the ring, his promos, I can't get behind the idea of Logan Paul wanting to prove he's serious. Even though I get that's his new character arc, and obviously Prime brings a
Yeah,
lot of
that's his
money.
character arc. That's his
Even
character
though
arc.
Prime brings a lot of money for WWE, I mean, and a lot of people like myself don't are kind of put off by Logan Paul for the stuff, kind of the extra stuff,
There's
outside
a
of
lot
ring.
of it. Then there's the
So
Logan Paul's not going to win because he has a fight with his brother in March.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, Logan Paul, great, whatever. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I really like the idea of a Penta or a Chad Gable. But they're not gonna. I mean, I would say
Put a
Penta.
worker in the match so they can get over.
Exactly. So so yeah, I think that's it then for wrestling. So yeah, I think we have our next kind of pretty it's pretty detailed in terms of kind of what's going to happen up until WrestleMania and Elimination Chamber in Toronto. So I mean, anything else before we close out?
I think that it's good to know that like our ideas of what will happen will change based
Based on
upon
week to
what
week, exactly week
yeah
to week, what because
like
we don't have inside information as to what
right. And we said this during the last telecast or broadcast that we have or last upload, whatever you guys want to call it these days.
they're.
Uh, we're millennials, so we experienced all of that.
Yeah,
So we bounce back and forth between whatever we're going to call it. Let's go old school. We call it a webcast. That's not old school. Old school. We call it a webcast.
webcast.
Whatever.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you guys that we're in WrestleMania season, which means that people, and these are people that we're talking about. These are not television characters only. These are actual people, actual athletes, which means that injuries do happen, which means the story can change or may have to change. And so, with that being said, as of today, if WrestleMania was tomorrow, that's how we would book it, and that's what would make the most sense. We got 3 months, 2.5 months left.
hmm
Was no, it's more like a month and a half now, isn't it?
pretty much.
2 months. It's 2 months almost exactly, almost 2 months exactly
Yeah,
until this happens. And in the next 8 weeks, we're going to see a lot of changes to what we think. We're going to see a lot of things, evolve, and we're going to see a lot of things start to take shape and make sense. Them saying who they want to face is just, and let's keep this in mind. They're only saying which title they're going after because there is zero guarantee that certain people might be champion when that WrestleMania event happens. That's why the desperation aspect is added to this part of the wrestling season. So I think that's about all I got for wrestling right now. I'm not going to mention some of that BS from the other company, but I will say one thing. The fan in the first row that paid his money to sit in the first row and hold up a sign that said, at least AEW doesn't have an untalented hack saying yeet. You're so off base with what's going on in the wrestling world that you wasted your money just to get on television to dissent against the movement. And it's unfortunate that you're going to be one of those sad souls that are left behind. The fact of the matter is, you're at a different show. You brought a sign that had nothing to do with your show about somebody who is the most over in the other company. Thank you for making me change the channel.
exactly. No, and exactly to the point what we talked about earlier, right? Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars, right? The moment you start saying, hey, like, this and that. And I remember during Austin and Raw's 1980, I did see some Goldberg signs. During Austin Monday Night Raw, which was pretty cool to see. But then as WCW kind of downward spiraled, because what they were doing is what you said, a lot more fans came and said Goldberg fears Austin.
Do you remember going to school and the people who used to be WCW stands were getting made fun of
Yeah,
because they were still wearing like, oh, dude, you still wear a Goldberg shirt? It's all about Austin right now.
exactly. No, it's one of those things. Like, I mean, eras change, and I mean, even during the Ruthless Aggression era, when I was like, watching Cena and Lesnar and all that stuff. I mean, like, people would get made fun of if they were wearing like a Rey Mysterio shirt because before Rey Mysterio was a world champion. But obviously, to your point, it's one of those things. But Anyways, y'all, thank you for tuning in this episode. When we come back, hopefully early next week, we'll talk about NFL free agency, NBA, all that good stuff, because lots been going on there. But we are on the road to WrestleMania. So we will keep on that road until we get to our destination. Thank you all for tuning in this episode. Y'all already know DDOG Podcast at SoulReaper24 on Instagram. Subscribe, follow, share, and y'all will see us next week. Thank you all once again. God bless.